I mean, I think for Minnesota, the window is open now, and with so few other future picks, Tim Conley saw this as his avenue to take a big swing.
Yep.
And to me, like, I think it's a genius move.
Were you surprised by 6, 7, or 8? Because we already covered Edey right off the bat. But 6 was Salon, 7 was Klingon, and then 8 was the trade where San Antonio went out. So if we're just dealing with these top 10 picks right off the bat, of 6, 7, 8, did all of them surprise you the way that played out?
Well, 6 didn't as much because Kristen Peak over at Yahoo Sports, she reported earlier in the day that the Hornets really like Salon. And then I looked into that after seeing her initial report, and like it confirmed a lot of it, that Salon is in high consideration for the Hornets at 6. There's questions about, are they just saying this because they want to force the Spurs to trade up? Is it like just, a smokescreen, or do they actually want him? My understanding was that they did want him, and obviously they get him. Klingon at 7. I posted on social about how I think this makes Ayton and Robert Williams expendable right away. I think I'd take a step back there after thinking about it more last night after the draft, after the first round. To me, like, Ayton's improvement as a mid-range shooter, if he can extend to 3 next season, it's worth trying with like 2 bigs. We're going to see that across the league, whether it's, Edey and Jaren Jackson Jr., or, I think a lot of teams are trying to do 2 bigs now, like Boston has had, like Minnesota. And so I think Portland will try it. And if Ayton can't shoot, then you flip them. But ultimately, the biggest surprise of those 6, 7, 8 picks was definitely the Spurs trading the 8th pick, Rob Dillingham, to Minnesota for picks that aren't coming for 6 years from now. And I was shocked by it because I thought the Spurs for sure were going to come away with 2 rookies in the lottery. There were so many good fits next to Victor Wembanyama, and to not get a swap until 2030, you're not going to get that until then, and then you don't get a first until 2031. I have some real questions about why the Spurs decided to go this route, though I'm understanding that they're just punting on a young guy now for flexibility later on when Victor will be in his second contract and picks become valuable to move within a draft, or they're betting on the Wolves maybe imploding or becoming worse, and those picks have high value in the future. I understand that, but at the same time, I think there are a lot of guys that made sense today as you begin building around Wembanyama.
Do you think it was that Salon was not available there?
Yeah,
it feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that had a lot to do with it, because it does seem like the Spurs really like Salon, and they've been friends a long time. Wemby and Salon, they share an agent as well. They both have similar mindsets with their hard-nosed, tough, aggressive, constantly running motor, try-hard attitudes. Like, they got that in common. So I think with the Spurs, maybe the Spurs were thinking, we want to take a big swing at 8. The big swing is either Salon or distant future picks that, maybe they work out, maybe they didn't.
I like the Dillingham thing in Minnesota. That's another guy that can make a play off the bounce, and they desperately needed, they had one guy that could really take you off the dribble on a regular basis in Anthony Edwards. And you could even tell when in the games during the playoffs when Mike Conley was out, it's like, man, they need another guy that could just dribble, and like get the defense in motion, because here's that. If nothing else, that Rob Dillingham is going to be able to get an opposing defense in motion. He's beating guys off the dribble. End of story. And so I actually think that was a really good get for Minnesota to be able to snag that. Lord knows you're never expecting them to getting the 8th pick in the draft, but there they were. And it's one of those things where, at least, especially if you're a fan, it's like, dude, I'm a fan right now, and I'm a fan for next year, and this feels like a championship window for us. Like, who gives a shit about 2030? Like, okay. Like, that's a middle schooler right now. Like, you literally traded Rob Dillingham for 2 middle schoolers.
100%. I mean, I think for Minnesota, the window is open now, and with so few other future picks, Tim Conley saw this as his avenue to take a big swing. Yep. And to me, like, I think it's a genius move, Rob Dillingham. Like, you look at the weaknesses again, opportunity fit, Dillingham is 164 pounds. He's only 6'1". He's going to be targeted on defense. That's a fact. It's going to happen. Rudy Gobert is behind you. Jaden McDaniels is flanking you on the wing. Anthony Edwards is flying around. Karl Anthony Towns is out there. There's so much size and versatility. Like, it almost doesn't matter as much that if Dillingham is your lone weak link on defense, especially when you consider what he can do offensively. Chris, you're 100% right. They just need more playmaking, more creation, more ball handlers. And so you take Dillingham, who's the best shot creator in the draft class. He's a knockdown shooter from any range, from three, from floater range, pull up, step backs, it doesn't matter. And you pair him with a great screener in Gobert, or a great pick and pop guy with Cat. And by the way, I talked to you about this about Minnesota when they were facing Dallas. All the lobs that Lively got and Gafford were getting. Gobert, like, Ant is not a lob thrower. Conley is. Conley's good at that. Dillingham, he improved a lot as a playmaker his freshman year at Kentucky. If you go back and watch all of his assists, he's a great lob thrower. He's really good at throwing lobs. He found Justin Edwards a lot. He found their big there a lot. And he's very good at kind of, he has flair. Like, he plays with that style, and that, like, the lob pass kind of reflects that with him. And so I think Dillingham Gobert could become a very good pairing in the years to come. And by the way, like, it's just going to be straight up fun. Like, Ant Edwards and Dillingham in a backcourt together, it's going to be sick.
The other thing is it gives them one more guy, as we talk about, that can beat you off the dribble. But most importantly, it's like, they need more guys that you could say, go get me a bucket. Like, everything's bogged down, or Ant's got two guys on him. Go give me a bucket, man, because Towns is an outstanding offensive player. He is also a guy that is generally created for, right? I'm not saying you can't throw him the ball and him get you a bucket, but he's not bringing the ball. The ball's not in his hands immediately, right? It's got to get to his hands. And so it's another guy that can have the ball in his hands and say, hey, we need a bucket. Go get me a bucket, right? Get open and create your own shot, and a good shot. Yeah, that's a fun one for Minnesota.